The stars looked the same as they had for 3,000 years. Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of his massive warship, watching the endless void through the main viewing screen. The ship was called Eternal Dominion, and it was the pride of the Valerian Empire's fleet. Nothing in the galaxy could match its power. Taemin had served the Empire for 40 years. He had seen rebellions crushed and new worlds added to their territory. The Empire ruled over 6,000 star systems, and their ships kept the peace. At least that was what they called it. "Admiral, we are receiving a message from the exploration vessel Starseeker," said his communications officer. The young man looked nervous. "Put it through," Taemin replied. He expected another routine report about mineral deposits or trade routes. Captain Sujin's face appeared on the screen. She looked excited, which was unusual for the normally calm explorer. "Admiral, we have found something strange near the void sector. Our sensors are picking up energy readings that don't match anything in our databases." Taemin frowned. The void sector was a restricted area of space. No one was supposed to go there. The Empire had marked it as dangerous over 1,000 years, though no one remembered why. "Captain Sujin, you know that area is off limits. Return to your patrol route immediately." "But Admiral, these readings are incredible. The energy patterns are completely unknown. This could be a major discovery." "I said return to your route. That is an order." Sujin's face showed disappointment, but she nodded. "Yes, Admiral." The screen went dark. Taemin shook his head. Scientists always wanted to explore dangerous places. That was how people got killed. Meanwhile, on the mining colony of Kepler 7, Dongwook was having problems with his equipment. The gravitational stabilizers kept shutting down for no reason. He had been the foreman of this mining operation for 5 years, and he had never seen anything like it. The mining platforms floated in space around a dead planet, pulling valuable metals from the asteroid belt. Hundreds of workers operated the machines, most of them prisoners from conquered worlds. They worked long hours for little food, but that was normal in the Empire. Dongwook checked the readings again. The gravitational field was changing in ways that made no sense. It was as if something very large was moving through space nearby, but their sensors showed nothing. "Sir, the workers are getting scared," said his assistant, a young woman named Yunjung. "They say the machines are acting strange." "Tell them to keep working," Dongwook replied. "I'll send a report to the Empire. They'll know what to do." He typed his report and sent it to the nearest Imperial base. The message described the gravitational problems and asked for technical support. He expected an answer within a few days. The Imperial capital world, Supreme Chancellor Wu Hyun was meeting with the Council of Overlords. These 12 beings ruled the Empire, making decisions that affected billions of lives. They sat in a great hall filled with holographic displays showing their vast territory. "Chancellor, we are receiving strange reports from the outer territories," said Overlord Myung-ho, a tall man with cold eyes. "Ships are reporting sensor malfunctions and energy readings that make no sense." Wu Hyun looked at the reports on his personal screen. There were dozens of them, all describing similar problems. "These are obviously equipment failures. Our technology is getting old in some sectors. Order the technical divisions to replace the faulty sensors." "Some of our captains think these might be rebel activities," said another overlord. "The rebels don't have technology advanced enough to fool our sensors," Wu Hyun replied with confidence. "They barely have working weapons. This is just a coincidence of equipment failures." The overlords nodded in agreement. The Empire's technology was the best in the galaxy. Nothing could challenge their supremacy. They had conquered every species they had ever encountered. Back on the Starseeker, Captain Sujin couldn't stop thinking about the energy readings. She had been exploring space for 15 years, and she had never seen anything like them. The patterns were too complex and organized to be natural phenomena. Against her orders, she changed course slightly to get closer to the void sector. Her crew was nervous, but they trusted her judgment. She kept their movements small enough that the Admiral wouldn't notice. "Captain, I'm detecting more energy bursts," said her science officer, a man named Hyun Woo. "They're getting stronger. Can you identify the source?" "No, Captain. It's like the energy is coming from empty space, but that's impossible." Sujin stared at her screens. The energy patterns were beautiful in their complexity. They reminded her of music or poetry, but made from pure energy. Something was creating them, but what? Admiral Taman received another report from a patrol ship. This time it was about gravitational distortions near a trade route. The captain reported that his ship had been pulled off course by an invisible force. "Sir, this is the 5th report this week," said his first officer, a woman named Jiwan. "Maybe we should investigate." "These are equipment failures, nothing more," Taman said firmly. "The Empire's ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. Our sensors don't make mistakes." But deep inside he was starting to worry. The reports were coming from different sectors, all describing similar impossible events. Either their equipment was failing across the entire fleet, or something was happening that they didn't understand. In the depths of space, far from any star or planet, something stirred. It had been waiting and watching for a long time. The sensors of the Empire were primitive, unable to detect its presence. But now, it was almost ready to reveal itself. The thing in the darkness had been studying the Empire, learning about their technology and their weaknesses. It had seen their cruelty and their pride. It had watched them enslave innocent people and destroy entire civilizations. Soon, it would be time to act. The Empire thought they ruled the galaxy, but they were about to learn how wrong they were. Something was coming that would change everything. The energy readings that Captain Sujin detected were just the beginning. They were the early signs of a storm that would shake the foundations of the Empire. In the void sector, ancient secrets were awakening. The Empire had made many enemies over the centuries, but they had always defeated them with superior technology and ruthless tactics. This time would be different. This time they would face something beyond their understanding. The stars continued to shine in the darkness, indifferent to the struggles of mortals. But change was coming, whether the Empire wanted it or not. Their worst fear was about to become reality. The space around the void sector shimmered like water, and then something impossible happened. A ship appeared where nothing had been before. It materialized slowly, as if it was stepping out of another dimension. The ship was unlike anything in the Imperial databases. It was smaller than a standard Imperial cruiser, but its design was strange and beautiful. Its hull was dark gray with blue lights running along geometric patterns. The energy signature it gave off made no sense according to Imperial science. Captain Haiwan stood on the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, watching the Imperial ships through her viewing screen. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. Her uniform was simple but well made, very different from the elaborate clothes worn by Imperial officers. "Captain, we have successfully entered normal space," reported her navigation officer, a young man named Sung Min. "Stealth systems are disengaging as ordered." "Good. Begin active scanning of the area. I want to know everything about these Imperial ships." Haiwan's voice was calm and controlled. She had been preparing for this moment for months. The tactical Officer Jinho looked up from his console. "Captain, I'm detecting 12 Imperial warships in this sector. The largest appears to be a command vessel. They're moving to intercept us." Haiwan nodded. "As expected. They've probably never seen anything like us before." The Defiant Dawn had been watching the Empire for a long time, hidden by technology that made their sensors useless. Haiwan and her crew had learned about Imperial tactics, their weapons, and their weaknesses. Now it was time to make contact. On the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion, Admiral Taman stared at his screens in disbelief. "Where did that ship come from?" he demanded. "Sir, it just appeared," his sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. One moment there was nothing, the next moment it was there. "Our sensors detected no approaching ship." "That's impossible. Nothing can hide from Imperial sensors." "Sir, the unknown vessel is scanning us," reported the communications officer. "Their scans are very advanced. They're learning about our ship design and weapons." Taemin felt a cold fear in his stomach. In 40 years of service, he had never encountered technology that could do what this ship was doing. "Send a message. Demand identification and immediate surrender." The message was sent on all frequencies. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Taemin of the Imperial Navy. You have entered restricted space without permission. Identify yourself and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire. For several minutes there was no response. Then the communications console lit up with an incoming message. The voice that came through was calm and clear, speaking perfect Imperial Standard language. This is Captain Hai Wan of the United Earth Defense Force ship Defiant Dawn. We are not here to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. We have come seeking the return of our people. Taemin exchanged confused looks with his officers. Earth? Defense Force? What are you talking about? There is no record of any species called humans in Imperial databases. That doesn't surprise me, Hai Wan replied. Your empire has taken many people from many worlds. You probably don't keep track of them all. Impossible. The empire has detailed records of all species in our territory. You must be rebels using stolen technology. There was a pause before Hewan spoke again. Her voice was colder now. Admiral, I suggest you check your slave labor records more carefully. You will find many humans working in your mines and factories. People who were taken from their homes against their will. Taemin felt anger rising in his chest. How dare this unknown captain accuse the Empire of such things? I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you will surrender immediately. We have 12 ships against your 1. Admiral, Hai Wan's voice was now very serious. I'm going to give you some advice. Order your ships to withdraw. Don't make the mistake of thinking we are helpless because we are outnumbered. On the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, Jinho was monitoring the Imperial ships. Captain, all 12 vessels are moving into attack formation. They're charging their weapons. Any sign they're willing to negotiate? No, Captain. Their commander seems convinced. We're rebels or criminals. Hai Wan sighed sadly. She had hoped this could be resolved peacefully. Jinho, what's the status of our weapons systems? All systems ready, Captain. Shields at full power. Communications. Send one final message to the Imperial fleet. The message went out on all frequencies. This is your last warning. We have no wish to harm you, but we will not be captured or destroyed. Stand down immediately or we will consider this an act of war. Admiral Taemin read the message and laughed. Act of war? One small ship against the might of the Empire? He turned to his weapons officer. Target their engines. Disable them so we can board and capture the crew. Yes, Admiral. Weapons locked on target. Fire. The Imperial fleet opened fire with their most powerful weapons. Energy beams that could destroy mountains struck the human ship's shields. The crew of the Eternal Dominion watched their screens, expecting to see the unknown vessel crippled and helpless. Instead, the energy beams hit the Defiant Dawn's shields and simply disappeared. The ship floated in space completely undamaged. Sir, the weapons officer said in a shaking voice, our weapons had no effect. Their shields absorbed the full power of our assault. That's impossible, Taemin whispered. On the human ship, Jinho reported calmly, Captain, their attack was absorbed by our shields at 12% capacity. Hai Wan closed her eyes for a moment. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Jinho, you are authorized to return fire. Disable their weapons and engines, but try not to destroy them completely. Understood, Captain. The Defiant Dawn turned toward the Imperial fleet. Along its hull, weapons ports opened that the Imperial sensors hadn't detected. The energy that gathered there was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Admiral, the sensor officer on the Eternal Dominion said urgently, the unknown ship is charging weapons. Energy levels are... Sir, these readings can't be correct. What do you mean? Sir, they're generating more power than our entire fleet combined. Admiral Taemin felt fear grip his heart. For the first time in his career, he realized he might have made a terrible mistake. All ships evasive action, maximum shields. But it was too late. The humans had tried to avoid this fight, but the Empire had forced their hand. Now they would learn why Earth had become the dominant power in their region of space. The Defiant Dawn fired, and the age of Imperial supremacy came to an end. The first human weapon fired, and reality seemed to bend around it. The energy beam was not like the crude plasma cannons of the Empire. It was something far more advanced, using principles that Imperial science didn't understand. The beam struck the Imperial cruiser Starcrusher and passed through its shields as if they weren't there. The ship's armor, made from the strongest materials in the Empire, melted like ice in summer heat. In seconds, the mighty warship was cut in half. Admiral Taemin watched in horror as one of his most powerful vessels died. All ships, concentrate. Fire on that vessel. Everything we have. The remaining 11 Imperial ships opened fire at once. The space around the Defiant Dawn filled with energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile explosions. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. When the light faded, the human ship floated in space completely undamaged. Its shields hadn't even flickered. "Sir," the weapons officer reported in a terrified voice. "Our combined assault had no effect at all." On the human ship, Captain HFY stood calmly as her crew reported the situation. "Shields holding at 15% capacity," Jinho announced. "The Imperial weapons are not a threat to us." "Their tactics are predictable," observed the tactical officer Kyung-soo, an experienced man who had fought in many battles. "They're grouping together, making themselves easy targets." HFY felt sadness, not joy, at their advantage. They don't understand what they're facing. Their weapons were designed to fight other Imperial ships, not something built with human technology. The human ship moved with impossible grace, dodging the clumsy Imperial vessels as if they were standing still. The Defiant Dawn's engines used gravitational manipulation, allowing it to change direction instantly without the normal laws of physics applying. "Jinho, target the next ship. Disable it. Don't destroy it." "Yes, Captain." The second human weapon fired differently. Instead of cutting through the target, it sent an electromagnetic pulse that shut down every system on the Imperial destroyer Iron Fist. The ship went dark, floating helplessly in space. "What are they doing to us?" Admiral Taemin demanded. "Sir, the Iron Fist reports complete system failure. Their computers, weapons, life support, everything is offline. How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. Our technology has no defense against whatever they used." The human ship continued its deadly dance through the Imperial fleet. One by one, the proud warships of the Empire were destroyed or disabled. The lightning strike had its engines torn away by a weapon that seemed to eat metal. The golden sword simply exploded when something interfered with its power core. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted only 10 minutes. When it was over, 11 Imperial ships were destroyed or floating dead in space. Only Admiral Taemin's flagship remained functional, and that was clearly by the enemy's choice. "Sir, we're receiving a message from the unknown vessel," the communications officer reported. Captain HFY's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired, not victorious. "Admiral Taemin, I'm sorry it came to this. We tried to avoid violence." "What? What are you?" Taemin asked in a broken voice. "We are humans from Earth, and we've come to take our people home." "I don't understand. Humans? We have no record of your species." "That's because your empire classifies us as livestock in your databases," HFY replied, her voice turning cold. "We know about the slave colonies. We know about the memory modification. We know what you've done to our people." Admiral Taemin felt his world falling apart. Those are conquered populations, prisoners of war. It's perfectly legal, under Imperial law. "Your laws mean nothing to us," HFY said firmly. "Prepare to receive our diplomatic representative. We have much to discuss." A small shuttle launched from the human ship and approached the Eternal Dominion. Admiral Taemin's crew watched it approach with fear and fascination. The shuttle's design was as advanced as the warship, using technology they couldn't understand. The shuttle docked with the Imperial flagship, and a single human stepped aboard. She was a middle-aged woman named So Young, the chief engineer of the Defiant Dawn. She carried a small device that translated languages and a portable scanner. "Take me to your computer core," she told the shocked Imperial crew. "I need to access your databases. You can't just—" Admiral Taemin began. "Admiral," So Young interrupted, "your fleet just attacked us without provocation." You are in no position to make demands. Either cooperate, or we'll take what we need from your ship's wreckage. Realizing he had no choice, Tai Min led her to the computer center. So Young connected her device to the Imperial systems and began downloading information. The Imperial computers, which were considered highly advanced, seemed primitive compared to her equipment. Interesting, she murmured as data flowed across her scanner. Your technology is about 500 years behind ours. No wonder your weapons were useless. 500 years? Tai Min whispered. Your species never developed quantum computing or gravitational manipulation. You're still using fusion reactors when we mastered zero-point energy centuries ago. So Young looked at him with something like pity. Your empire has been living in the past. As she worked, So Young found what she was looking for. Here we are. Slave labor records. Kepler 7 mining colony. 1,500 human workers. Titan base. 800 humans in the weapon factories. My God, there are over 50,000 of our people scattered across your empire. They're criminals and prisoners, Tai Min protested weakly. They're farmers and scientists who were kidnapped from their homes, So Young replied angrily. People whose only crime was living on worlds your empire wanted to conquer. She continued her search, and her expression grew darker. Memory modification, procedures, forced labor, medical experiments. She looked up at the Admiral with fury in her eyes. You've been using human creativity and intelligence to improve your own technology. That's how your empire advanced so quickly over the past decades. I didn't know. Ignorance is not an excuse, Admiral. Your empire has committed crimes against humanity, and there will be consequences. So Young finished her download and stood up. Captain Hyawan will want to speak with your government. I suggest you contact them immediately. As she prepared to leave, Admiral Tai Min asked desperately, What happens now? So Young looked back at him. Now? Now you learn what happens when you threaten Earth and her children. Your empire thinks it rules the galaxy, but you're about to discover that you're not alone out here. And some of us don't appreciate what you've been doing. She returned to her shuttle, leaving behind an Imperial crew that finally understood the magnitude of their situation. They had attacked a single human ship and been completely defeated. If this was just one vessel, what could humanity's full military do? The answer to that question was about to become terrifyingly clear. The emergency session of the Imperial Council had been going for 6 hours. Supreme Chancellor Wu Hyun sat at the head of the Great Table, watching the same battle footage for the 10th time. 12 of the Empire's most powerful warships had been destroyed by a single unknown vessel. This has to be some kind of trick, insisted Overlord Myung-ho. No single ship could have that much power. The footage must be fake. The footage comes from 17 different sources, replied Research Director Yeon-soo, a thin woman with nervous eyes. Our best scientists have analyzed it. The technology we witnessed is real, and it's far beyond anything we understand. Wu Hyun rubbed his temples. Tell me again what this Captain Haiwan wants. The return of all humans in Imperial territory, said Foreign Minister Jae Sung. She claims we have enslaved her people and demands their immediate release. Enslaved? Overlord Ki-tae laughed harshly. We have conquered populations working in our industries. That's how empires work. We give them food and shelter in exchange for labor. According to our databases, Yeon-soo said carefully, we do have significant numbers of a species called humans working in various facilities. They were classified as a primitive species when we first encountered them. How primitive can they be if they can build ships like that? Wu Hyun asked. That's what worries me, Chancellor. If these are the same people, then we may have seriously underestimated them. Meanwhile, on the mining colony Kepler 7, Foreman Dong-wook was having the strangest day of his life. The gravitational problems had gotten worse, and now his workers were reporting seeing lights in space where nothing should be. Sir, you need to see this, said his assistant Yeon-jung, pointing at a computer screen. We're getting a transmission from an unknown source. The screen flickered, and a woman's face appeared. She had kind eyes and spoke in a language that somehow Dong-wook understood. even though he had never heard it before. "This is Captain Subin of the human rescue ship New Hope. We are coming to free our people from the mining station. Do not be afraid. We will not harm anyone who does not resist." Dongwook stared at the screen. "Human? But that's impossible. Humans are they're workers. They can't build spaceships." Before anyone could respond, something materialized, in space near the mining platform. It was a ship unlike anything in the Imperial fleet, sleek and beautiful with strange blue lights along its hull. "All Imperial personnel, this is Captain Subin. Order your workers to stop what they're doing, and gather in the main meeting area. We need to scan them for our people." Dongwook's hand moved toward the alarm button, but something stopped him. The workers were already stopping their machines and moving toward the meeting area. Many of them had strange expressions on their faces, as if they were remembering something important. "Sir?" Yeonjung whispered. "Look at their eyes. Something's happening to them." Dongwook looked around and felt a chill. Many of the workers were staring at the human ship with expressions of recognition and hope. It was as if they were waking up from a long sleep. One of the workers, a man named Tae-ho who had been on the station for years, suddenly spoke in the same language as the captain. "Please help us. They took our memories, but I remember now." "I remember Earth?" "Earth?" Dongwook repeated. "What's Earth?" "Home," Tae-ho said simply. "Our home." Captain Sujin, meanwhile, was exploring the void sector against all orders. Her scientific curiosity had finally gotten the better of her, and she had discovered something that changed everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. "Captain," her science officer Hyun-woo said in an amazed voice, "you need to see this. I found the source of those energy readings." On the screen was a sight that took Sujin's breath away. Hidden in the depths of space was a massive structure, clearly artificial but built with technology far beyond Imperial science. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "What is it?" she asked. "I think it's some kind of observation post," Hyun-woo replied. "The energy readings suggest it's been here for decades, maybe longer. It's been watching us." "Watching us? Who built it?" Before Hyun-woo could answer, their communication system activated. A calm, male voice spoke in perfect Imperial standard. "Imperial vessel Starseeker. This is Commander Min-soo of the Human Observation Force. You have discovered our monitoring station. Please prepare to receive a diplomatic representative." Sujin felt her world shift. "Human? Another human ship?" "Captain, I'm detecting multiple vessels around us. They're uncloaking." Hyun-woo's voice was filled with awe. "Captain, there are dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The space around the Starseeker filled with human ships of various sizes. Some were clearly warships, others appeared to be scientific vessels or transports. All of them used technology that made Imperial ships look like toys." "Captain Sujin," Commander Min-soo continued, "we have been monitoring your empire for some time. We know about the slave colonies and the memory modification procedures. We know what you've done to our people." I didn't know," Sujin stammered. "I'm just an explorer. I study planets and stars." "We know. That's why we're contacting you. You're not like the others. You seek knowledge, not conquest. Perhaps you can help us prevent unnecessary bloodshed." A shuttle approached the Starseeker, and soon Commander Min-soo stood on Sujin's bridge. He was a tall man with intelligent eyes and a calm manner. His uniform was simple but well made, and he carried himself with quiet confidence. "Commander," Sujin said nervously, "I had no idea humans were so advanced." "Your empire classified us as a primitive species," Min-soo replied. "You saw only the farming communities and research stations that your invasion forces encountered. You never saw our military capabilities. How long have you been watching us?" "Since your empire first attacked human colonies 30 years ago, we've been learning about your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses. We've also been searching for our missing people." Min-soo activated a device, and holographic images filled the bridge. They showed human colonies being attacked by Imperial forces, people being captured and taken away in ships. Your empire took our people and erased their memories, forcing them to work in mines and factories. You used their natural creativity and problem-solving abilities to advance your own technology. Su-jin watched the images with growing horror. I never knew. The government never told us about this. Your government probably classified it as integration of conquered populations, Min-su said bitterly. But to us it was the kidnapping and enslavement of innocent people. What are you going to do? Min-su looked at her seriously. We're going to get our people back. The question is whether your empire will cooperate or if we'll have to take them by force. You're threatening war against the entire empire. Captain Su-jin, we already have one of your fleets. Admiral Tai-min learned what happens when you attack human ships. The question now is whether your leaders are smart enough to negotiate, or if they'll force us to demonstrate our full capabilities. Su-jin thought about the massive fleet she had seen, all using technology centuries ahead of imperial science. Commander, if you attack the empire— We don't want to attack anyone, Min-su interrupted. We just want our people back. But if your empire refuses, then yes, we will take them by force. And nothing in your military will be able to stop us. As if to prove his point, alarms began sounding on imperial ships across the galaxy as human vessels appeared from nowhere, surrounding slave colonies and mining stations. The time for hidden observation was over. Humanity had come to collect its own. Supreme Chancellor Wu Hyun stood before the Great War Room display, watching red warning lights appear across the galaxy. Each light represented a human ship that had appeared from nowhere, surrounding imperial facilities and demanding the release of human workers. How many? He asked War Marshal Seong-ho, his top military commander. Over 200 locations, Chancellor. They appeared simultaneously across 50 star systems. Seong-ho was a large man with scars from many battles, but his voice shook as he spoke. Our commanders are reporting the same thing everywhere, human ships with technology far superior to ours. And our response? I've mobilized the Grand Fleet. 10,000 ships, Chancellor. Every warship the Empire can spare. If these humans want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. Wu Hyun nodded grimly. How long until the fleet reaches the main human concentration? 6 hours, Chancellor. What neither of them knew was that the humans had been listening to every Imperial communication for months. Fleet Admiral In-su, commander of the Human Expeditionary Force, received the intelligence about the Grand Fleet mobilization within minutes of the order being given. So they choose war, In-su said quietly to his staff aboard the command ship, Liberator. He was an older man with gray hair and sad eyes. I had hoped their leaders would be wiser. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, our intelligence ships confirm the Imperial fleet composition. 10,000 vessels of various classes. They'll reach our position in approximately 6 hours. And our forces? 50 ships, Admiral. All classes represented. In-su studied the tactical display. 10,000 Imperial ships against 50 human vessels. On paper, it looked like suicide. In reality, it would be a massacre, but not the kind the Empire expected. Send a message to all commands. Tell them the Empire has chosen violence over negotiation. We are authorized to use maximum force to protect our people and ourselves. Meanwhile, on the mining station Kepler 7, extraordinary things were happening. Captain Subin's medical team had begun scanning the workers, and their equipment was reversing the memory suppression that the Empire had used on captured humans. Dong-wook watched in amazement as worker after worker began remembering their true identities. Taeho, who he had known as a quiet miner, was actually Dr. Taeho Kim, a scientist from the Earth colony of New Seoul. I remember now, Taeho said, tears streaming down his face. They attacked our research station. We were studying plant growth in low gravity. They killed the security team and took the survivors. But that was 5 years ago, Dong-wook protested. You've been here for 5 years. You never said anything about being a scientist. They altered our memories, explained Captain Su-bin, a kind woman with gentle hands who was helping the recovered humans. Your empire has been using a combination of drugs and psychological conditioning to make our people forget their past lives. Why would we do that? Because humans are naturally creative and intelligent. Your empire discovered that human workers were more productive than your own people, so you began taking us as slaves. But conscious slaves might rebel, so you made us forget who we were. Dongwook felt sick. I didn't know. I thought they were just workers. Not your fault, Dr. Kim said kindly. The empire lied to everyone, including its own people. As more humans recovered their memories, a horrifying picture emerged. Teachers, doctors, engineers, artists, all kidnapped from their homes and forced to work in imperial mines and factories. Their knowledge and creativity had been stolen to benefit the empire. How many of us are there? Asked one woman who remembered being a teacher. According to our records, over 50,000 humans scattered across the empire. Captain Subin replied. We're going to get all of you home. Captain Sujin, still aboard her ship with Commander Minsu, watched the preparations for war with growing dread. Commander, surely there's another way. If we could just talk to the Chancellor. We tried talking, Minsu replied sadly. Captain Hewan offered to negotiate. Your admiral chose to attack instead. Now your war marshal is bringing 10,000 ships to destroy us. But you only have 50 ships. Even with superior technology, Captain Sujin, you still don't understand. Those 50 ships represent the largest military force humanity has ever assembled outside our home territory. We're not a warlike people by nature. But when someone threatens our families, his voice hardened. Well, you're about to see what humans can do when we're truly angry. The Imperial Grand Fleet arrived exactly on schedule. War Marshal Seong Ho stood on the bridge of his flagship Imperial Glory, looking at the 50 human ships arranged in a defensive formation around the contested systems. That's it? He asked his tactical officer. 50 ships against 10,000? Sir, our scouts confirm that's their entire fleet in this sector. Seong Ho laughed. They must be insane. Open a channel to their commander. Fleet Admiral In Su's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and sad, like a man who had seen too much violence. I am War Marshal Seong Ho of the Imperial Grand Fleet. You are outnumbered 200 to 1. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Marshal, Insu replied calmly. I am Fleet Admiral Insu of the Human Expeditionary Force. We have no desire to fight you, but we will not abandon our people. This is your last chance to withdraw. Withdraw? From 50 obsolete ships? Seong Ho was still laughing. You humans are braver than you are smart. Perhaps, Insu said quietly. But you're about to learn something about human engineering that your spies missed. The transmission ended and both fleets prepared for battle. The Imperial ships spread out in their traditional attack formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. The human ships remained in their tight defensive group waiting. All ships, this is War Marshal Seong Ho. The enemy is outnumbered and outgunned. This will be over quickly. Begin the attack. 10,000 Imperial warships opened fire at once, the space between the fleets filled with energy beams, plasma bolts, and nuclear missiles. It was the largest military bombardment in galactic history. When the light faded, the 50 human ships floated in space, completely undamaged. Impossible, Seong Ho whispered. On the human flagship, Fleet Admiral Insu gave the order he had hoped never to give. All ships, you are free to engage. Show them what Earth builds when her children are threatened. What happened next became known as the Battle of the Void Sector, though historians would later note that it wasn't really a battle. It was a demonstration of what happened when a species that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe decided to go to war. Human ships didn't just fight. They rewrote the rules of space combat. They moved through dimensions the Empire didn't know existed, struck from angles that physics said were impossible, and used weapons that turned Imperial ships into clouds of atoms. In 30 minutes, the Grand Fleet of the Valerian Empire ceased to exist. 10,000 ships, the pride of a galactic civilization, were reduced to debris and radiation. War Marshal Seong Ho found himself alone on the bridge of his crippled flagship, all his crew unconscious from the neural weapons the humans had used to disable rather than destroy his command ship. "This is Fleet Admiral Insu. Can you hear me, Marshal?" "How?" Xiong-Ho whispered. "How is this possible?" "Your empire made a mistake, Marshal. You assumed that because you found humans living in simple farming communities, we were a primitive species. You never bothered to look for our real homeworlds, our industrial centers, our military academies. What are you? We're the people you've been enslaving for 30 years. We're the species that survived ice ages, global wars, and the journey to the stars. And we're very, very angry." Insu's voice softened slightly. "Your empire ends today, Marshal. Not because we want to conquer you, but because you forced us to act. We're going to free every human in Imperial space, and we're going to make sure this never happens again." As the human fleet moved toward the Imperial capital, the age of the Valerian Empire came to an end. They had awakened something that they should have left sleeping, and now they would face the consequences of their cruelty. The humans were coming home, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them.